Join me every month for the inspiration to find your finish line. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well out there. Mike Reilly here on Find Your Finish Line. This is the final podcast of 2024 I'm doing, and it's going to be just with me. There's no guests. I wanted to kind of talk to you all and give you a recap of the year, give you a recap of some of the things I saw, some of the inspirations, and hopefully it'll help motivate you through the holiday season and beyond. So happy holidays, merry, happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah. This is a time of year when we all get together with our family. The racing season is basically over. Just got done with the 70.3 World Championships in Taupo, New Zealand, which I missed dearly because I went down there, over 20 times for Ironman New Zealand. And it is no doubt my favorite place in the world down there. It's just so good. I do want to thank you all for your support of Find Your Finish Line these past 4 years. I still can't believe it's been 4 years, over 70 podcasts we've done. And, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do this final one with just me and no guests is because I wanted to talk directly with you. This won't be long. When I wrote wrote down what I wanted to say, I realized some of these things that I'm going to talk about are the things that I need too. So first, let's go through a bit of a recap of the year. Wow, Nice, Laura Philipp from Germany. What a race she had there. A true world champion. I had her on my podcast and just a sweetheart. And I tell you what, she just is one tough competitor. So congratulations to her. And Patrick Lange. There's a lot you can say about Patrick. What people were saying was he was done. Patrick was on my podcast, told me he wasn't done. It's been a while since wins, but he predicted that he'd go to Kona and he would dominate. He would win, and he did. And I got to give him big props for that. Very happy when Patrick came through that finish line in first place as a world champion for the third time. Taylor Knibb just crushed it at the 70.3 World Championship in Taupo, as I said. My gosh, she crushed it in the T100 championship. She is a true talent. I mean, think about it. When she gets out there and race those middle distance and a little longer distance triathlons, she just dominates. It's like almost from wire to wire. I don't know if she knows how talented she is, but if you're listening, Taylor, it is a pleasure watching you race. And Gilles Gens from Belgium on your 70.3 World Championship. Wow, what a race you had in Taupo. And seeing you at the finish just break down, fall on the ground, we all could tell you gave everything you had. And the Ironman Pro Series, at the beginning of the year, everybody's, whoa, what's this all about? And look at the money that's involved. And now Ironman's got a series where people do so many races, they can gain points and all that good stuff. Well, Kat Matthews came out on top on the women's side. She finished second at the World Championship from the UK. She finished second at the 70.3 in Taupo, and she won that Pro Series. And Gregory Barnaby from Italy won it on the men's side. So that was exciting to watch that and see how it was coming out all year long. When I look at performances like that of those athletes, every year it just keeps getting better and better. But I'm never going to forget, and I'm sure a lot of you won't either, the incredible performances of people like Chrissy Wellington, Jan Frodeno, Natasha Bodman, and Paula Newby-Fraser, Chris McCormick, Sebastian Canely, who just retired, the great Dave Scott, Daniela Reef, who just retired, Lionel Sanders, Peter Reed, Lucy Charles Barkley, just to name a few. You should never forget, and I always make it a point to never forget the history of our sport because it sets you up and gives you a foundation for the future. The history of our sport, if you never forget that, I think you're going to be much better off. The history of you in our sport and the things you've done, be proud of it, but don't dwell on it, good or bad, because there's always another hurdle to jump down the road. There's always another start line to get to. There's always another huge goal to set. And when you do that, you'll find your finish line. The other thing that was exciting for me personally this year was the Ironman U experience with TriDot. Ironman U puts out the coaching clinics, the coaching lessons with TriDot to all the coaches to be able to certify themselves as an Ironman U master coach. And I got to work with the likes of Mark Allen, McKeely Jones, Miranda Carfrey, Craig Alexander, Tim O'Donnell. And I had the honor of emceeing and asking questions through the 12 different lessons we did in 2024. And man, I'm really looking forward to the lessons coming next year. And you know what's amazing about that? For as long as I've been in the sport, I learned so much from these guys, from Mark and Miranda and Crowe and McKeely and all of them, about running, about cycling, about nutrition, about the art of coaching. Because coaches, they can't take it for granted. They're such an influencer in the lives of our triathletes. So if you get a coach out there, make sure they're well-versed with everything because you deserve it. Now, recapping some of my podcasts last year, my first one back in January was Talbot Cox. When Talbot Cox came into the sport, he was out on the race course. I remember him. I don't know what race it was. A look camera and video camera. He's getting everywhere. And then he starts posting these videos, which were pretty cool. And at first, it kind of upset some of the race organizers because was he authorized to be out there? He's not with us. What's going on? But all Talbot wanted to do was show you what we all wanted to see at points of the race that sometimes it wasn't broadcast there. Things like the pass or things like somebody breaking down, things like somebody getting to that finish line with an incredible victory. So Talbot Cox, thanks for all that, and he's still doing it. I had Beth McKenzie on. Beth McKenzie and her partner Luke are the owners of Win Apparel, beautiful cycling, running, clothing line. And Beth is still an amazing athlete running such long-distance races and still doing triathlons and being an example to everybody out there, including her kids. I had Andrew Cartwright on. He actually called me, his people called me, and asked me if he could be on my podcast. I really didn't know who he was. So I looked him up, and I saw he finished Ironman California. But then I looked at other things and found he's an incredible business person. And in real estate, and he's done over 3,000 loans. I mean, it just was somebody I go, wow, this guy's something else. Well, then he asked me to be on his podcast. He does it out of Las Vegas. So I drove to Las Vegas and I was on Andrew's podcast. I walk into the studio, which is in the basement of his home, which is a palatial mansion. And I'm in the basement garage looking at the studio and it said, Reluctant Billionaire. That was the name of his podcast. And I'm going, billionaire? Really? Yeah. Yeah. So Andrew did Kona this year for the first time, raised a ton of money for the Ironman Foundation, which made me very proud because being the ambassador captain, raising money for the foundation is paramount. So Andrew, thanks for all that and congratulations on Kona. I had Patrick Lange on, as I said earlier. Go back to that podcast and see the confidence in his voice and how he has that quiet confidence, not braggart, but sure of himself, sure of his path, sure of his goals, and sure of what he wanted to do. Well, he proved that. Definitely, he proved that in Kona. Brian Boyle, he was one of the chapters in my book. I had him on my podcast. Brian Boyle was crushed by a garbage truck coming home from a college swim practice. He died 9 times on the operating table. As a matter of fact, one surgeon walked up to the other surgeon who was working on him and said, "How come you're working on this cadaver?" Can you imagine? The doctor said, as long as there's life and he's breathing, I'm going to keep working. Well, thank God he did, because Brian came off that table, beat up for a long time, but told his dad in that hospital bed, "Dad, I want to do an Ironman." Hell, Dad didn't even know what an Ironman was, but he wanted to appease his boy and said, "Sure, son, that'd be great." Until Dad went out and looked at it and said, "Well, I don't know if he's ever going to be able to do that." So thank you, Brian, for being on the show. Stephen Pignick, I had the honor of doing the audiobook on his book. And Stephen was on the podcast. You got to check it out. check out his book. And unbelievable business person and Ironman finisher. And he is climbing Mount Everest. He's training to climb Mount Everest right now. Crazy. Thank you, Dave McGilvery, for being on the show again. Dave, Boston Marathon fame, ran across the country, ran his age on his birthday miles, on his age, on his birthday every year. True fan. Thanks for being on, Dave. Dee Dee Griesbauer. God, I love Dee Dee. Loved having her on the show. She gives such an insight to everything triathlon and is the oldest professional triathlete out there on the circuit. And she does a great job with Michael Lovato and Matt Lieto on all the Ironman broadcasts online. She just did the 70.3 World Championships. Dee Dee, thanks for all you do for the sport. Mark Allen was on again. We recapped what was going to go on in Nice. No, we did Kona. We recapped what was going to go on in Kona. Mark hit it on the head, talked about a few athletes that finished on the podium, and he just knew they would be. Mark knows it. Mike Irwin from Team RWB, Red, White, and Blue. Mike's organization gives back to veterans who come back from serving their country for us to readjust them to life. And the way he loves doing it is through working out, getting out for a run, going for a bike ride, getting involved with the community. Mike does that over and over again, has a ton of people part of Team RWB, and it was a great podcast. Then I had Laura Phillip on. A lot of times I've called a lot of athletes and they say, I can't do it. I don't have the time. Laura right away, sure, Mike, I'd love to be on your podcast. It was so refreshing to have her on. She gives such a great insight to herself, to her racing, her training, what her goals are in life. And thank you, Laura, for being on. It was, to this date, the largest, most watched show I've ever had on my podcast. So thank you, Laura. I had John Joseph on, John Joseph McGowan. My gosh, he was a punk rock singer in the band Cro-Mags back in the 80s. Drugs, alcohol, grew up in foster homes, was abused, had a life where he shouldn't be living today, but he turned it around, and racing in triathlons helped him do that. It's an incredible story. And my last guest just a few weeks ago, it's up right now, Belinda Granger from Australia. Belinda does all the commentary at Challenge Roth. She does it at some of the T100 races. She's was a professional triathlete, had over, I think, 20 Ironman wins in her career, and is one of the most positive people you could ever meet. So listen to the Belinda Granger podcast. And I'm lining up a bunch of podcasts for 2025. You can send me a message to mike@mikereilly.net. If you want to hear from some guest, I'll be sure to try to get a hold of them. Okay. As I mentioned before, it was an honor to serve again as the Ironman ambassador and captain for the Ironman Foundation. And thank you for all of you that raise money for the foundation to be able to give back to the communities we serve and the communities we race in. People ask me how I am. I don't know where I got this, but I got it years ago. And I'll answer, no matter if I'm not feeling that great. Hey, I'm fantastic, but I'll get better. And I always add that to the end of it, and it stops people. They either laugh like, yeah. Oh, that's cool. But it makes them think. And you know what? I better get better if I'm fantastic. You don't want to stop. You don't want to stay stagnant. You don't want to be walking backwards. So if I'm happy, hopefully I'm going to be happier. If I'm fantastic, I'll get better. Try that one day. Hey, I'm good, but I'll get better. I'm great, but I'll get better. I'm fantastic, but I'll get better. Put a little pause in there and keep doing it. Watch what happens to your mental mindset. Have you ever heard of the happiness muscle? I heard about that not long ago. And that's all we do as triathletes and athletes and runners and Spartan athletes. No matter who you are, you work those muscles. The largest one, your heart muscle, to every one of them, especially that muscle in between the ears. But the happiness muscle is one you've got to work all the time. A lot of people going through the holiday season don't like it. It's tough. It's a lot of stress. What do I get these people on? I don't know. My family's not here with me. And you can get a little depressed, but make sure you keep working out that happiness muscle any way you can. And one of the best ways is to not use excuses, because excuses are invalid. And you know what? Complaining, it has actually, and I've complained about things, but it has never solved anything. It solves nothing. And other people could care less. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear you complaining. Hell, at the end of the day, we don't want to hear our own complaining, but sometimes we do it. We do it because we think it's going to make us feel better. We're trying to figure out if life has been throwing us challenges, which it does every day. If something happens in your life that you didn't see coming, and I could go on and on and on. But if you complain about those things don't get better, because the complaining solves nothing. What can you do in turn? Just don't complain. Keep it to yourself. Others don't want to hear it. And if you've got a mentor you work with and stuff, you can tell them, boy, I had this happen and this happened. But keep it like, well, it's got to get better. Even if it's a inner joke or you're just trying to be humorous, it's got to get better. Complaining solves nothing. I've used this in a few corporate speeches I did this year, that you are the cause of your own experience. And when I say that in front of an audience, people look at me and go, what? What are you talking about? Because what they think about is, oh, you're at a street light and somebody hit you from behind in the car and you didn't cause that. You were just sitting there. Sure, I realize that a lot of things in life that can come your way that you didn't cause directly. But if you go by you're the cause of your own experience, you'll start taking responsibility for everything you do, for everything you say, and how you act. And a lot of things in our lives, we make choices about, and experiences are created from those choices. Well, what you can do is know that you're the cause of your own experience. So if you keep those experiences as much as you can in your life positive, what's going to happen? The old acronym for me, you're going to find your finish line, whether that's having a better relationship with a loved one, whether it's having a better relationship with your friends or your kids, whether it's becoming a better workmate, producing more at work. People say, I want to make more money. I know the best way, produce. I was in sales all my life, and my income was dictated on how well I did. And my income was dictated on how bad I did. It just was related. And I know a lot of you out there had salary positions and things like that. But for some reason, every time I come across someone who I feel is a success, they really realize they're the cause of their own experience. If they were in a bad situation, they got out of it. Sure, it's scary as heck to get out of a situation where it's comfortable. But a lot of times, and most of the time, at the end of getting out of that experience and going to a new one, you became better. You became whole. It's almost like what I saw for so many years at the finish lines. I know a lot of things I didn't see. I didn't see depression. I didn't see sadness. I didn't see tears of sadness. I saw nothing but joy. At that time, in that moment in time, when you or your loved one crossed the finish line, no matter if it's a 1 mile fun run, a 5K, a marathon, an Ironman, whatever it is, when you crossed that finish line, you became more whole. And you know what? Because you crossed that finish line, you were the cause of your own experience. So hopefully you can start seeing what I mean about the cause of your own experience, of you being the one to control it. I'll never forget at Ironman, Wisconsin, probably about 7, 8, I have it in my diary. I think it was 2015, 16. I looked out my hotel window about 4:30 in the morning, and it was raining so hard. I go, oh my gosh. And it was kind of a cold rain. So I put out the rain. I had all the rain gear, go trudging outside with my backpack and to go to the spot where everybody's coming in to transition and talk to everybody. And I did. And it's just raining. And the forecast, shouldn't have looked at it. The forecast was for 17 hours of rain. That's actually what it said. Here we go. I go, oh, great. The whole day. So it kept coming down. It kept coming down. We finally got all the athletes out of the transition off of Monona Terrace down on the water at Lake Monona. And as they're standing there and I'm about ready to bring them on in, I could see everybody just shaking their head. They're walking into the water with their head down. Nobody had to say a word. I knew what the attitude was. I knew what the feelings were. Heck, the feelings were the same for me. The feelings were the same for people I was working with, for BCC, the sound crew. I was with them, and we're all going, oh my gosh, are we going to get through this day? And it actually depressed me to where I'm thinking, I can't be depressed. My gosh. So the athletes got into the water, and as they were getting in, a lot of them were in there just wading in the water. I finally said this for as much as me, my friends, and all for sure for the age groupers. I just hit me. I said, listen, today is happening and we've got no control over it. That's what's happening. But I do know one thing for sure. We have control over our attitude because we can control that. We can't control all this stuff going on right now around us. I never said the word rain or storms or cold or nothing. But I did say at the end, if you control your attitude and keep it positive, don't worry about all this other stuff, you'll get to the finish line. And I just had a sigh of relief after that. And I remember, I think it might have been Dave Downey looked up and said, dude, that worked. And everybody cheered in the water and like, all right, the heck with this. We can get through this day. And we had a fantastic finishing rate that day. Not because of what I said, because of what the age groupers did after I said it. So experiences like that, they were the cause of their own experience. Obviously, you're not the cause of the rain, not the cause of the wind, nothing like that. So, well, if you're going to make any New Year's resolutions, do them. You can do them January 15th, but do something. You know, a lot of people say, I'm not going to drink during the holidays. There's always that yes or no. Should I drink? You know, as we get older, it's no good for us. And it's just something that it's really more peer pressure. You go to a holiday party and, you know, you grab a glass of wine or a beer or whatever, and you just do. But consciously, you know, do you want to do that? Do you not want people to say, what's wrong? You're not going to drink? You know how that peer pressure is. But make those smart decisions during the holidays and much after. So, you know, I've gone through the sport a lot of years, and I always think about the people I respect. And I'm sure a lot of you respect people that are in your lives. One of the people that I respect immensely and is a great friend is Mark Allen, 6-time Ironman world champion. His resume is his resume, not to be matched. And I respect him for his incredible knowledge of our sport and how, as an athlete, you can excel, because he's always willing to share his knowledge and give his incredible advice to all that seek it. He could have just walked away from the sport, gotten a great job, just done corporate speaking, which he does. But he's part of our sport as a coach, as a mentor. And he does that every day, goes to the races, loves talking to the athletes. You can walk right up to him and talk to him. He'd love to talk with you. How can you not respect somebody like that? McKeely Jones is of the same breath with that. McKeely giving back over and over again. She is an Ironman U master coach. And her knowledge and insight, every time we do one of the sessions, I just go, oh my gosh, McKeely, she knows everything. Another one is Craig Alexander Crowley. Tremendous respect for him. Tremendous respect for Paula Newby Frazier, setting the foundations and the bar for all the women of the future to jump over it, which a lot of them have. And, you know, I respect another friend is Joe DeSena. Joe is the creator of the Spartan events. the obstacle races. Spartan also owns Tough Mudder. And I knew Joe early on when he, just had one event, two events, and working with him. And Joe has never changed. He lives by the edict of doing something hard every day, and he preaches it. If you follow Joe, it's almost like sometimes you go, wow, is that overboard? Is that overboard? Is that overboard? No, it's Joe, and he's changing people's lives. He never thought he was going to change people's lives by having them crawl under barbed wire and over fire pits and burpees after burpee after burpee. But he is, and he does, and he stays at it. He's a great family man. He's a fantastic mentor. And you know what? If you want to become better at something, just listen to Joe. It may be hard to take at first, but just keep listening to him. You will. The other group I truly admire are your age groupers. You've heard me say it over and over again. You are the lifeblood, the heart and soul of our sport. It always brought a smile to my face to witness your journeys. It always does. And to see you at the finish line and the pictures of your triumphs, of even getting to the start line. And you all have to know, because sometimes you have confidence in your life and you don't. If you cross the finish line, you have a little more. But sometimes life gets in the way and that confidence can wane a little bit. Think of this. You are an inspiration to others. Even though you don't look at yourself as a motivational person or an inspirational person. But because of your actions and the things you do and the life you lead, you're inspiring someone else. Someone you don't most likely know. How good is that? That person can pass that along again and again and again because of you. So always know you are an inspiration. You're an inspiration to everyone around you. And if you keep finding those finish lines, you're an inspiration to yourself. How good is that? Make sure you get a mentor out there. I've had mentors through the years. There's still people I talk to and throw things off of. They tell you the hard things sometimes you don't want to hear. Don't be afraid to share with someone that you believe that it's just between you two. A mentor can guide you in your business. It can guide you in your life. They can guide you with everything. So find a mentor. And why not be a mentor? Nothing wrong with that either. I'd like to also give thanks to BCC. They produce this podcast. They're at every North America race. They're in Kona. They're everywhere. They have made me sound good over the years. As a matter of fact, since 2006 at Ironman Arizona, when they first came to the Ironman tour. They have an incredible company. They produce the Ironman broadcast. They do so many things outside of our sport. And Dave Downey and Melinda Downey, who run and own the company, they don't believe they run and own the company, even though they do, because they've got people working with them that they look at as partners. It's truly a business model company that they've built from the love and passion that they have of seeing others succeed. They love seeing it as much as anybody else at the finish line. Excuse me. I've worked with sound crews at other events, and they come, they set up, they do their thing, they turn the mic on, they turn it off, they go home. BCC is in it for all the reasons we are. That's why they produce the greatest videos in the sport. That's why they produce the greatest sound. That's why who they are. And by the way, you got to make sure you tune in. They've got a new podcast too called 500 Cats. And they do everything with a hint of humor to keep the day just keep going on and on and on. So I am starting to put together stories for book number 2. It hit me about a week and a half ago. I started looking at some stories I've got archived. And I don't want to do the exact same type of book, but I'll have stories in there that hopefully will inspire you as they inspired me. But I'm going to add tidbits of what I believe you should take from it, lessons I think we should learn from someone's failure. I learned a heck of a lesson from Brian Albichon. He DNF'd at 7 Ironmans. I was at every one of them. Every one of them, Mike, I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish this Ironman. Yeah, Brian, you will. And then he'd come in past that 17-hour mark, and I'd be there and bringing him home and calling by name, but not calling him an Ironman. And, they gave him a medal because he finished the distance and a T-shirt. But he knew in his heart he wasn't an Ironman. 7 times. I don't know about you. I would have given up after 3, 4, 5. Hey, I did my best. I went the distance. I can't fault myself for that. I tried hard. But no, Brian wanted to keep at it. Well, then he comes to Ironman Mont Tremblant. We had the same conversation. Hi, Mike. I'm going to finish this time. I really am. I know you are, Brian. You're going to finish this time. And I kept as much confidence in my voice as I could. But like all of us, you go, geez, 7 times. Will number 8 be the one? And son of a gun, it was. When Brian, I got a report where he was at about 1.5 miles to go, and I'm looking at the watch and the clock, and oh my God, he's going to be close. But if he just keeps moving, he'll do it. And he came in just underneath that 17-hour mark. I had told the crowd his story. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew about it online because they saw it happen over and over again that he didn't finish. And when he came in, it's probably one of the top 4 or 5 loudest roars I have ever heard. I didn't need to say a darn word. I called him an Ironman and let the crowd do it all. And they went for 4 or 5 straight minutes. I looked at a couple guys in the audience. They had veins coming out of their necks. They were screaming so loud at him and so happy, and people crying. And he failed 7 times. You know what they say? A failure isn't a person that fails. A failure is a person who doesn't learn from that experience. Brian took those 7 DNFs and built them into one fantastic finish. Never give up. And you know what, through the holidays, give yourself permission to be happy, to feel happy. You can do that. Give yourself. The truth is sometimes we need to behave like happy people, even though inside we don't. You actually want to be happy. And if you say, I'm fantastic, but I'll get better, even though you may be having a crappy day, say it. What you say is what you are. It happens. If you walk around going, yeah, it was okay. My gosh, even when I say that, it gives me the willy. I don't like saying that because I feel it might take me down a notch, and I don't want to go down a notch. Like you want to go up every day. Be happy. So thanks again for listening all year long. As I said, I'm already lining up guests for the podcast. Let me know. Good luck to all of our events next year. Ironman, the challenge races, the T100, Super League, to all of our race directors who they work tireless hours, day after day, year after year, to produce incredible events for you to be able to have your dreams come true. They do it, all the race directors. And I always send a shout out to all the carnies, all the brethren that I worked with all the years at all the races I did. And they're out there all the time, working behind the scenes, setting up the cones, the barricades, making sure you're safe on the course. As we always say, thank a volunteer, and thank goodness for the volunteers. Thank a volunteer during the day. What's wrong with thanking that person who's got that yellow jacket on, standing on the corner, making sure those cars don't come your way? That person that was up at 2 a.m. marking that bike course so it's all safe out there for you. The carnies. Have a fantastic holiday season, everybody. It's my honor and privilege to be able to talk to you. Yeah, I'm not announcing races as I was before, but I haven't gone away. I'm here with you. I can't wait to put up a bunch of podcasts next year, do everything with TriDot. I will be getting to 3 or 4 events next year. Don't know what they are, with TriDot and with the Ironman Foundation. And I can't wait to see you there. So take care of yourselves. My warmest aloha for you and your family. Have a fantastic season. I hope you get whatever you want, but I hope you get to give whatever you need to give. Aloha. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.